So top of the list is Luka Doncic. So why is Luka 10? Why is he on the list at all? And then also, why is he so low on the list? It's because he hasn't been in the league very long. This is his 6th year in the league. Feels like he's been in the league for a long time, but also kind of feels like he just got there. Because he's been, I bring this up all the time, but he's been All-NBA first team for 5 years. And he's been in the league for 6 years. Or he's been All-NBA 4 times in his 5 years that he's completed in the league, which no one has ever done. I'm almost positive that no one has ever done that. And Luka's he's always at the top of the MVP. He's great. He should win a championship at some point. So you may think, well, why isn't he higher on the list? It's because he has plenty of time to do it. There's a lot of time before people start saying, is he ever going to get a championship? He's sort of in that, he reminds me a lot of Dirk, and Dirk eventually got it. Is Luka going to have a Dirk-like moment where he loses to the Miami Heat in 2006, comes back and beats them in 2010, I believe it was? I think so. I don't know. But he is on this list because he is so good, and he's only been in the league for a little bit of time. So therefore, he's number 10, but he's still on the list because we all expect Luka to win a championship at some point, don't we? I do. I think he should be crying shame if he didn't. I'm not crying shame and just be kind of, I don't know. You hate to have those players that go down as like, oh, he never got a ring, or I don't really care. I feel like you could have a great career and never have got a ring. What's it matter, you know? I think a lot of times we just have a guy that we're like, he never got a ring, so we kind of, this is really dark, but we kind of like feel better about ourselves because we look at them and we look at their lives, and maybe we wish for more, and we say, well, at least I'm not in that position where there was something that I wanted and I never got it. So poor Charles Barkley, there's no way he can be happy. I don't know. Next we have, so this is 9. 9 is Tatum and Brown. I put them together. They're kind of like one person to me until one of them either leaves the team or gets traded. Tatum and Brown are one single person. They're like a two-headed monster on the court. They're paid the same. They came into the league 1 year after each other. So 7th and 8th years in the league. They've been in the league for Brown 8, Tatum 7, which is kind of funny because I really got invested in basketball the year after Tatum was drafted. So I always thought Brown was the younger one. Brown had been in the league for less time. Not the case. Kind of embarrassing for me. Tatum is the star of the team, and then Brown is sort of the sidekick. Again, contracts are the same. And they've been to the finals. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals a lot. And they've been to the finals before in 2022. Against the Golden State Warriors, and they lost. So I think the closer you get to the championship, the more it kind of people talk about the fact that you've never won it, because I think it proves that you've gotten very close and you are good enough to potentially be an NBA championship, but you never got there. You got close enough to taste it. But again, these guys are very young in their career. I believe Brown is 26, Tatum is 25, so they have tons of years to do it. As we go down this list, you're going to notice, oh, wow, some of these guys have been in the league for a very long time. Some of these guys have been in the league 3 times as long as Tatum and Brown, so proving that they have plenty of time to get this done. Nevertheless, I'm sure they're trying to get it done now. I think players are honestly a little bit less hungry once they've won a championship and had a significant role on a team. I think that with Kawhi a little bit. I think that with Kyrie in some instances. Once they've won that championship, there is a part of them that's kind of feels like they have nothing left to prove, or that they don't have as much to prove anymore. I've already won my championship. I'm awesome. I'm good. Everybody kind of worships me. I got my own shoe. Who cares? It's over. That's what I think. So I think a lot of the more fun players to watch are players that have not won a championship. Joel Embiid. I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that Joel Embiid did not play a single game his first 2 seasons in the league. I didn't know that. I recently got really invested in basketball back in 2017. That's when I really started. I used to be an NFL person, and then before that, I was an EPL person. Now I'm full on NBA. I do not care about those other leagues. I'll check in. But I didn't know he didn't play the first 2 years. So Embiid is in his 10th year in the league, even though he didn't play in those first 2. He's never been to an ECF. He's never been to an Eastern Conference Finals. Can he do it? He's 29 years old. He's getting older. He's older than a lot of the other guys on this list, and he needs to make an Eastern Conference Finals. He's going to go down as like a Tracy McGrady type who never won a playoff series. And I don't know. I'm not saying someone should be embarrassed, but I think they definitely want to be more than that, I would assume. Especially being an MVP now, people have expectations. People think you want to be good. So I think you get the NBA MVP. People want you to do things. People expect you to care and they want you to try. I think Joel was a little bit apathetic last year. I think he was a little bit apathetic when they didn't perform very well and they didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals. And they got beat by the Celtics. I think there was a lot of apathy, and I think that's going to be frustrating for voters. But he's locked in. I just think I don't know. He's definitely a lot more quiet than he used to be. I don't know what's up. So he's number 7 or 8 on my list. Then we got Demar Derozan. So Demar is not as good as a lot of these players. I'm just going to be honest with you. I love Demar. He's a hardworking guy, not on defense. He's not good on defense, but he's been in the league for a long time. Seems like a really sweet guy. Great offensive player, great mid-range dude. But he needs a champion. He needs a championship. He needs one. I don't know if he's ever going to do it. I don't think he can do it as a number 1 guy on his team, which I believe he is right now. And the Bulls are atrocious. They are really bad. I mean, mainly just the aspect of like when Brooklyn came back and beat them at a huge deficit. There's just this I don't believe in the Bulls. There's no one that really wants to get it done. Vucevic is slow, and I mean he gets rebounds, but that's about it. So I am hoping DeMar DeRozan gets traded, but he needs to get traded to a team. I think he has 1 year left on his deal. So I think someone is going to trade for him. They're going to trade to get him as a rental. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him, but he can get you buckets. Again, nothing on defense. Also, he's on this list just because he's old. He's in his 15th season. I think he's as old as me. I think he's 34. He doesn't have much time to do it. Again, a lot of people don't really expect him to win a championship, though. I don't. But that's why he's on this list, because he's old, but also no one really expects him to win a championship. I think after the whole getting traded to the Spurs for Kawhi and then the Raptors winning the championship, I think after that, people had a lot of sympathy for him because, you leave a team, you want to be a Raptor your whole life, you get traded, and for a guy that's better than you, and then that team wins a championship, it's hard. It had to be really difficult, but it also had to kind of be bittersweet because I'm sure he loves those guys. He loved Lowry, and he was happy that, he got one. So it'd be nice to see DeMar win a championship because he seems like a good dude, and that's the reason. Then Paul George, only because Paul George. Oh, and I forgot to mention, DeMar DeRozan has not been to a Eastern Conference championship or a Western Conference championship. He has not got that close. He's always met LeBron in the playoffs, so he's never even been to a finals before. Nor has this next guy, Paul George, been to a conference championship in the East and the West as a Clipper and as a Pacer. He's good, but he's that like king of the third team All-NBA guy, which I'm going to bring up another guy that is also the like prince or king of the third team All-NBA, where you're an exceptional player, but you're just not. It means you're good enough to be the best guy on your team, but it doesn't mean you're good enough to be the best guy on your team that wins a championship. That's what third team All-NBA means, in my opinion. So, can he do it this year? This is the year for the Clippers. They're starting to kind of figure it out. But every year is the year for the Clippers. This is, I'm a Clippers fan. And it always feels like they're a threat to win the championship. Everyone thinks, yeah, this is the team. Now you got Harden on the team. It feels like this is the team. This is the year to do it. This is the year that Paul George finally gets his ring. And it never is. It just isn't. So it's this weird thing where you're like, it all adds up. It's like you're doing roulette and you have everything's this is a stupid example, but everything's a 1. It's all a red 1, okay? So you've been betting $100, $100, $100. You're betting on red 1 just because you look at it and you're like, well, that's what all the odds are. And maybe there's 1 black 0, 0, and you're like, but the odds feel like, you're down $2,000 and you're like, but I want to keep rolling this dice because the odds are that it's going to be red 1, but you keep rolling and it keeps being black 0. So at some point you stop looking at the odds and say, I can't lose anymore. I can't lose any more money. I'm going to be broke. Even though the odds seem incredibly favorable for me, I'm losing. So that's how I feel about the Clippers. They're just sort of tragic, and especially acquiring Harden, who just seems to be like a miserable person. I can't root for them. They represent everything bad about basketball. I know. They represent everything bad about the human condition. Damian Lillard is next. Oh, I forgot to mention Paul George, 14th season in the league. It matters. Damian Lillard, only the 12th season in the league. Okay. He's higher up on this list, which is kind of... Actually, probably should have put Paul George. But I don't think Damian Lillard is going to have as long of a career. I think he's like 33 or something like that. I don't think he's going to have as long of a career just because he's small. Sort of a Kemba Walker situation. Once you lose that quick step, or maybe lose, you get in a 3-point shooting slump, you just lose your touch. You're kind of out of the league because you have one specialty that you can do, and if you lose that specialty, it's kind of over for you. I'm not wishing this upon Dame, but I just don't see him having like a lot. I think Paul George probably has a similar amount of time left on his career, even though he's older and he's more injury prone. Not to say Damian Lillard isn't injury prone. Dame's been to a Western Conference Finals, but I remember that Western Conference Finals, and it just didn't feel like they stood a chance against the Warriors. I believe they got swept, and I believe Kevin Durant was out. He was injured. I think Clay was out too, and they still got swept. I don't really know how they got there. I don't even remember exactly who they beat to get there, but that was as far as Dame has ever made it, and it felt like a fluke, but I don't like calling things a fluke because it feels very dismissive of someone's accomplishments. But Dame wants to win a championship, and the Bucks gave up Drew for him. They didn't give up too much, but they gave up Drew, who's a good point guard and a great defender and seemingly a very good person, very generous, benevolent person who probably had good vibes in the locker room. So I think there's an expectation of Dame needing a championship. He wants a championship. We'll see if it happens for him. He's got some time. So let's move to the next person, and we're going to go with Jimmy Butler. To me, Jimmy Butler doesn't owe anyone anything. There's no expectation of him. This is not a guy that people talk about a lot and say, oh, he's still chasing that ring, man. He's got to get that ring. He's focused. He needs to get to the finals and win that ring. That's what he needs for his career. Nobody believes that. Jimmy Butler has done more with less than anyone in the NBA ever. He's been to the finals twice, and I have to be honest, not good teams, playoff teams, but making the finals with the teams that made it in 2020 and last year in 2023 is exceptional, and it takes a real strength of will to get your team to that position, beating some really quality NBA teams, including some really serious Boston Celtics teams. So to me, Jimmy Butler needing a ring, it's like, yeah, he probably won't get it, because again, he's the other, Paul George and him, king of the third team All-NBA. He's just not gonna be a championship winner as the best guy on a team, but I love Jimmy Butler, and what he's done in his career is nothing short of impressive. So Jimmy Butler, yeah, I'd like to see him get a ring, but this guy's telling it. He owes nobody nothing. This guy is an inspiration, if you will. But it'd be nice to see him get a championship. So therefore, what is he on my? He's 4th on my list of guys that need a championship, and he's been in the league for 13 seasons, and he's 34. So probably, I don't know. You never know how many seasons a guy is going to play, when he's going to slow down. Let's move on. James Harden, because he's an MVP, and he's an exceptional player, and he's better than Jimmy Butler. I know it sounds crazy because basketball opinions are so, any sports opinion is just so short-sighted and myopic of what your idea of how good a player is. Because truly, even if you do watch a lot of basketball, or you do watch a lot of whatever sport, your ability to retain everything you know and all your information and all the influences you've had of listening to podcasts or watching ESPN, you're never going to retain enough to really give an objective opinion on which player is better than another. So that really staunch belief kind of comes from somewhere other than what you know about sports. That's what I believe. But James Harden has been an MVP, and he's been a choker in the playoffs for a very long time. He has a reputation. So regardless of whether you really think he is a choker in the playoffs and he can't perform in the clutch, you have to admit that's the perception, right? So he's been to the playoffs before in his 15 seasons in the league. This is his 15th. He's been in the playoffs. He's been in the finals before with the OKC Thunder in 2011, I believe it was. Here's what's interesting. When I looked up, he didn't start any of the games in the finals while he was in the Thunder. Not the finals, the playoffs. He never started a playoff game as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was like a Ginobili type, though. Let's be real. He was averaging 31 minutes a game in the playoffs. So I thought that was kind of fascinating. So you may, when someone says, has James Harden been in the finals? People might say, no, he's never been in the finals. What are you talking about? He has. You forget that he was a 6th man in OKC. You forget. I forget. I feel like his identity as a player has changed so much since he was in Oklahoma City that you kind of forget he's the same guy. His beard has grown too. Let's move on. Russell Westbrook. I think Russ, he's definitely the oldest of them all because his season is 16th season. He's been to the finals once, same thing, but he started in the finals, so you're more likely to remember the fact that he has been in the finals before, back in 2011 against the Heat, where they didn't get swept. They got one win against the Heatles. Man, that team was good. They should have stuck together. I think the Heatles should have stuck together. I think Brown could have won a lot more. I don't know, though. I have no idea. Anyway, so I think Russ, I mean, he's on the end of his career, man. He is signing 1-year vet minimum deals until the end. Probably with the Clippers, I'll be honest. This is it. I don't know how many more seasons we're going to get of Russell Westbrook. That's my opinion. All I know is when you get to the end of your career and you're signing veteran minimum deals for 1 year, it means nobody believes in you. That's just the fact of the matter. If someone believed in you, they'd sign you for a longer contract for more money, but no one does that. So Russ is in a desperate situation. He's in a very desperate situation if he wants to get a ring. I don't even know. It might not even be important to him. Let's move on to Chris Paul. Of course, Chris Paul, been in the finals. Been in the finals once with the Phoenix Suns against the Bucks in 2021. That was a great, man. I don't really root for Chris Paul. He seems like Ryan Russillo is a big fan. I heard him on his podcast, and he seems like a cool guy. He seems like he really loves his family. He was talking about his dad and his brother and how that's important to him. So I think he has a really great perspective on life. It's neither here nor there. But as a player, he's got an ego on him. So I think a little bit inflated. I think that's what it is. He has an ego. If someone has a big ego, you want to watch it be deflated. You want to watch someone come down to earth when they're above it. So while people say, oh, LeBron has an ego, part of me kind of thinks, I don't actually think he does. I think he's just aware of his abilities and his accomplishments. And his ego, I think, gets inflated at times, but then it comes back down. I think he's more than willing to be humbled. But what I've noticed in Chris Paul, I hear interviews, and I kind of have an idea of who he is as a person. And I still think he thinks he's not come to terms with his limitations at this point. And it's an interesting story because he's in his 19th season in the league. Remember when he was part of the Pelicans? Feels like so long ago to look back on these guys' careers and think about where they've been, how far they've come, even thinking about where they were when they were thinking about the finals and if they'd ever make it. Now he's in season 19 with the Golden State Warriors, who aren't exactly performing. I just have a hard time rooting for the Warriors. I like Steph too, but no one else on that team. I guess Kevon Looney. Yeah. You kind of get just the sense of, you look at the team, you're like, do I want this team to win? Every time I throw in a Warriors game, which I actually throw in a lot of Warriors games because I can't watch Clippers or Lakers games because they're blocked on League Pass. So I end up watching a lot of Warriors games, and I just watch them like, I don't know, these guys are, they've won enough for me. It's like, well, I'm bored of this team. If they won another, whatever, I'm bored of them. Chris Paul he's the guy that needs a chip. It's going to be, I don't know, you just kind of get bummed out for these guys, but of course they're rich. People think, oh, well, they're rich, so who cares? They couldn't possibly have a problem. That is what we call the hedonistic treadmill mindset of someone that has more than me couldn't possibly have a problem. The only reason I have problems is because I don't have as much as them. It's not true, because you inevitably have more than someone else, and you still got problems. So, thank you for being here. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.